Welcome into Philthy, a Philadelphia Eagles podcast presented by the I Said What I Said podcast on the YouTube channel. If you're watching us there, I'm Brad Makai. That's Tyson Gentry. Tyson, the 2026 NFL draft in the books. The Philadelphia Eagles, we went over their first round pick. We're going to touch on it again a little bit today, but go check out what we think of the Makai Lemon thing in more detail on our previous video. We're going to dive into everything the Eagles did this draft. That includes the Jonathan Greenard trade. I want to hear your thoughts on that because they handed out a lot of money. They get some interesting people in terms of size profile, especially in day 2, day 3. And so we got a lot to break down here, man. How did you enjoy the draft? What did you think of the Eagles stuff before we dive into these picks, just from an overall perspective?
I think my favorite part of the draft as an Eagles fan is reading other Eagles fans. I can't believe Howie did it again, Howie, and then other fan bases, like other teams' fans, pissed at whatever happens with the Eagles. Some of these guys aren't going to hit, and that's fine. But whoever the Eagles call, it's like, are you kidding me? The league let them, blah blah, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. We've had our misses in the 4th and 5th too, but it's always a good time, dude. It's we're psychos. We're watching it, but on day 3 in the 5th round, when the Eagles aren't on the clock forever, and it's you can set your watch and go do whatever you want to do during the day. You got to sit down and watch because you never know who's coming up to do what, and that's fun.
Yes, I completely agree. And the problem is with day 3 stuff, these picks are flying around and they're getting traded around like they're pieces of candy. So it's like, okay, we have 3 picks. Oh, we have 1. Oh, now we have 4. Then we have 5. Like it's nuts. So just look at the tracker. We'll get into the day 3 stuff, but let me just wrap this thing in a bow and then we'll move into the Lemon stuff. As the first overall pick at pick 20 was Makai Lemon, the wide receiver from USC. Round 2, Eli Stowers, tight end / wide receiver. We'll get into that from Vanderbilt. Round 3 was Markel Bell, offensive tackle from the University of Miami. No round 4 pick, but round 5 was Cole Payton, the quarterback from North Dakota State, which QB factory. Not a surprise at how he got a QB in here. We'll see what Cole Payton does and if he even moves positions. But round 6, Micah Morris, offensive guard from Georgia, and then 3 picks in round 7. Cole Wisniewski, safety from Texas Tech. How about UR Bernard, a guy whose body comp blew up all over social media based on him coming through the international pathway program. And then Keyshawn James Newby, the final pick of the Eagles in the 7th round, an edge rusher from New Mexico. So a lot to unpack there. Like I said, we're going to go through each of these. Let's just give our quick thoughts here on Makai Lemon. Again, if you guys want to hear more in-depth reaction, projection, what we think of Lemon and how the Eagles did in round 1, go check out our video on that. But we'll give our thoughts here, Tyson. I'm going to throw it to you and just kind of round everything into a bow with the Lemon pick that the Eagles made.
Oh, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, one way or the other, with Makai Lemon and the city of Philadelphia. I think it's set up to be a perfect love story that could go toxic so fast, and I'm excited for both of those things. But this is a guy who, we talked about it before, and I'll just repeat some of the stuff. But pre-draft was like, okay, it's Tyson Lemon, and then for him to go so much closer to Casey Concepcion or Omar Cooper Jr. was interesting. This is a guy that you film nerds or college guys that are looking to the next fantasy football season with the yards per route run and all of that stuff. They're like, his dominator score and breakout age and all of this stuff is really, really impressive. This is going to be the best guy in the class. So to see him to fall to 20 is awesome. We'll see how it works out. And Brad, I think that his press conference are going to be a bunch of fun.
That's the biggest thing, right? Like he's going to go viral for that no matter what. Like the 2 public ones he's done, and since he's turned professional, the combine, and then when he got drafted, he's slithering like a snake. And I think that's going to be kind of his MO here. And maybe, if he's enamored with, or the Eagles fans are enamored by him, he's going to have some pretty cool nicknames, I think. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I'm with you. I'm pumped about this pick. If there's some concerns, Tyson, it's like the Eagles are pretty small now, wide receiver, body comp wise, but that's fine. In my opinion, you can have multiple ways to attack, especially in this league where corners aren't able to be as physical. You can't just destroy people across the middle like you used to anymore. So I actually think it's all right. Just get open and we'll figure things out from there. And that's something Makai Lemon can do. And he's explosive with the ball in his hand. So that's our thoughts on that. Day 2, Tyson, besides the picks, really what was the headliner for the Eagles is that they landed their edge rusher and Jonathan Greenard in a trade with the Minnesota Vikings. And I think people were kind of circling edge rusher. They need to get some help. And this is what they did. And that's why when people give out draft grades, quote unquote, we always kind of sneer because it's like, well, you can make other additions through free agency and via trade that improve, and you take a different direction in your draft. And that's what the Eagles did here. They gave up two third-round picks, the 98th overall in the 2026 draft, and one in 2027 to get Jonathan Greenard and a 7th-round pick back from the Vikings. Also gave him the new contract he wanted, roughly, $100 million? I think it was 98, something like that. But they got their guy in Greenard, man.
$50 million guaranteed over 4 years. So 2 years, 25 a year, kind of maybe is how it's like actually set up. We'll find out. But this is also exciting because Brad, I think he helps everyone else in that room kind of settle in a little bit. Now we can all play the role that we're suited for, which is pretty important. Hopefully there's no out of position stuff, which like if you have to deal with it, you have to deal with it. That's fine. But Greenard helps everyone else kind of just, again, settle in along that defensive line. And there's a lot being made about he played 12 games because of the shoulder injury, and he only had the 3 or 3.5 sacks a year ago. But he was 7th in the league in pressure rate. If Water finds his level, he's closer to that 12.5 guy that he was in 2024 when he made the Pro Bowl. And you got it for 2/3, which, like, it is 2/3, but it's the comp pick for Milton Williams, and then it's probably going to end up being the lower of the 2/3 next year, which will be the comp pick for Jalen Phillips. That's good business. That's a 1/3 for Jalen Phillips that turns into Jonathan Greenard, and the Milton Williams comp pick.
And especially for $20 million cheaper as well, because Phillips went for 120.
Got paid.
And so you look at that and you compare and contrast, like, okay. And if you think Jonathan Greenard actually fits your team better, that's the other thing too, because Jalen Phillips comes in and he was a boon kind of immediately for the Eagles. But Tyson, I felt as the season wore on, did we talk about Jalen Phillips as much on a per game basis? It was like, oh yeah, Jalen Phillips providing pressure. He looks good. Oh, he got that sack. But it was like, man, that first game, he wrecked everything for the defense. And then it just kind of petered off from there. We'll see what Jonathan Greenard can do, but I'm with you. If he's providing that pressure rate, it's like maybe we're not talking about Greenard having the sacks. So it's like, oh man, this guy's going double digits, but things tick up for Nolan Smith. Things tick up for the interior guys. Things tick up on the edge. Like if they're going just Zach Bond blitzing, is he able to do that more? Jalix Hunt. Yeah, things like that. So I think you add a piece here, like you said, that allows this defense to be more multiple and put more pressure on the quarterback, which has been lacking the last couple of years, I think.
And he's a dog. And it's always good to get one more of those in the defensive line room.
Yeah, last couple of years, I should say last year compared to the previous year when I guess it wasn't great until the playoffs and then the Super Bowl when they were dominating. But, I think the pressure rate has kind of fallen off for the Eagles. We're like, man, we're not just winning one-on-one matchups like they used to. So we'll see what happens. Got to stay healthy. But I like this deal for the Eagles. It is a swing. They think they got it right for sure based on the amount of money they gave out, because there's a lot of money tied in that defense now. And there's going to be a lot more coming forward. So this is clearly a piece that Howie Roseman and the Eagles think will help them immediately and in the future. Day 2, rest of those picks. Like I said, Eli Stowers, Markel Bell. Let's start with Eli Stowers. This is a guy that we were texting about. I'm just going to throw it to you. I think he's more of a wide receiver in the NFL just because of his inability to block, but he's got the tight end position next to his name. What's your take on them taking Eli Stowers in the second round?
I think Sean Mannion is the most important guy in the building now. Like that's
Ooh,
what
okay.
you get Makai Lemon. AJ Brown is being shipped out. Like that's so the Eagles were involved in the 2 worst kept secrets of the entire offseason with the Greenard trade and AJ Brown stuff, which is neither here nor there, but it is like, well, I'd love if that wasn't, always happening. But you bring in Eli Stowers, you bring in Makai Lemon, and you get rid of AJ Brown. That seems to me like the offense is going to be more chess piece kind of style, more Green Bay style, right? Like that's really look. Hopefully, Makai Lemon doesn't become utilized the same exact way as Jaden Reed is in Green Bay, but it means guys are going to be moving around the formation. I don't think Stowers is going to be an inline guy, much if at all. And Howie Roseman came out like in a couple months ago, or was maybe at the owners' meeting when he said that he has to reevaluate the way that he does the tight end position because there wasn't enough blocking in that room. So that doesn't really jive with the Stowers pick a bunch. But Brad, this is a guy who career yards per route run in college, excluding screens, out of all tight ends since 2015, he's 5th. The only guys above him are Colston Loveland, Dalton Kincaid, Brock Bowers, and Kyle Pitts. That's pretty good. The only guys with a higher yards per route run since 2015 than Stowers in general, if you include the screens, is Gerald Everett, Brock Bowers, and Dallas Goedert. That's pretty good company. This is a guy he was a quarterback. He can sit on the rim. Like if you need to go throw a jump ball, we love you, Johnny Wilson. But in the words of Colin Cowherd, we're good here. And I think that's what Eli Stowers brings to the table.
I'm pumped about this pick from what I think he can be in the NFL, which is, from my perspective, he's not going to be on the line blocking. Like, this isn't a 1-for-1 Dallas Goedert replacement. What he is could be a weapon in the slot and potentially your guy who's just more athletic than the linebacker, bigger than the safety. Like, that's who the Eagles added, in my opinion, with Stowers.
They're building AJ through the aggregate.
That's what they're trying to do here. I mean, Tyson's talking about the verticality that Stowers provides. 45.5-inch vertical jump. Freak show athlete with an 11.3 broad. Ran a 4.5. He's also 6'4", weighs 240 pounds. So this is a dude who's a one-of-one athlete at this position. Now, if you move him out to a wide receiver, okay, well, there's been better athletes, right? Like Calvin Johnson obviously sticks out, and then you kind of go through the list, Julio Jones and things like that. But Eli Stowers is an athlete that's going to play at this level, and he's going to be faster than the linebacker, bigger than the safety. And Daniel Jeremiah comes out and says his body type and what he can do with the ball and route running reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown. And you hear that as an Eagles fan, and you're like, oh, interesting. So I'm curious to see, and this is a big summer, this is a big fall camp for Stowers and how he adjusts to this offense. But I would be absolutely shocked if this guy has his hand in the dirt and he's actually blocking like he's Dallas Goedert, Tyson. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. But I think it's going to be a bunch of fun. It's anytime you draft a guy that breaks combine records, I'm going to be excited, whether it works out or not. There's a ton of mixed reaction to this pick, and I understand it, but we're going to say it like one more time that this 2026 draft class was pretty flat after the 20th pick, and it was like, go get your guy. And if you think Eli Stowers is going to be better than Max Clare or somebody else, then you do that. And Brad, we didn't want Matt. There were some tight ends where maybe you're thinking about it in the third or fourth round. It was interesting to see them go pass catcher to start the draft for sure.
So yeah, I mean, especially if you think pass catcher, maybe it's a Kenyon Sadiq, like a guy who can also block and potentially be the 1-for-1 Goedert replacement. But they went with Stowers, and they added two weapons with Makai Lemon and Stowers for the first two picks. Well, they finally got their offensive lineman with their third-round pick, Tyson. That's Markel Brown, just a mammoth of a man out of the University of Miami. Like we said, 6'9.25", 350 pounds. This is interesting to me, and I think there's a lot to break down here when it comes to Bell. And I feel like I keep saying Brown because I've got basketball in my head, so I apologize. Markel Bell out of the University of Miami. There's a lot to break down with this guy, Tyson. Can he play at this level, and can he play at that size? Is a couple of the biggest things that I have. But what was your first impression of Markel Bell being selected by the Eagles?
I think my brain first went to, if Stout likes it, I love it. And then I had to quickly remember, like, oh no, he's not going to be the guy coaching this dude. They say Stout's going to be around the organization. Stout says that's news to him. We'll find out in August. But 6'9", dude, you can't get away from that center of gravity discussion. Like, you just can't. And we'll see how it works. This is a guy who it's traitsy. That's all of the picks for the rest of the guys that we're going to go over was just, wow, these dudes' profiles are crazy. Let's take a swing is kind of how it feels. This speed on the edge in the NFL and those quick moves to the inside probably going to be a problem at 6'9". It just has to be. But if it works, it's going to be awesome. I think this is the Sean Mannion and Nick Sirianni's way of forcing Jalen Hurts to throw the ball over the middle of the field because he can't see over his two tackles.
Yeah. If you're expecting Markel Bell to replace Lane Johnson, I just don't know if that's going to be the guy.
It's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. I'm looking at his prospect grade here from NFL Network, who does a bunch of good stuff, I think, on prospects. Just give you an idea on where their head's at on these guys. It's a 6 is his grade. Traits, which equates to traits or talent to be above average backup. That's not replacing a surefire NFL Hall of Famer in Lane Johnson to me. So this screams, this is a depth piece. This is a project. This is somebody who's like, hey, if this hits, this could be somebody who's serviceable. Maybe it's a Fred Johnson that we don't have to pay anymore. We got him on the rookie scale, yada, yada. But we went into this draft as Eagles fans, Tyson, and with, analysis coming here like, oh, this could be the time where they look to replace Lane Johnson, or they potentially look to replace a Landon Dickerson, which we'll get into in day 3. I don't think they did that here with Markel Bell.
So I'm looking at his spider graph right now. 99 percentile height, 96 percentile weight, 97th percentile wingspan, 98th percentile arm length. Brad, he's in the 2nd percentile for hand size, which doesn't mean much, but makes me laugh. This is a massive human being who's in the 2nd percentile there. Like, I guess you hope he turns into like Paris Johnson Jr., who's another massive human being, who can play. It's just, that seems scary.
Yeah. So that's a wait and see. That's hey, we don't have Statland anymore. Can this new guy who comes in, new coaching staff, new ideas, can he be developed into what they want? And we'll see if that happens or not. So Stowers, Markel Bell, those are the 2 day 2 draft picks. And of course, Jonathan Greenard was acquired as part of that day as well. Let's get into day 3. And this is where things get hot and heavy. If we're talking about the NFL draft, just boom, boom, boom. Things are happening. Saturday is crazy. If you go to the bathroom, you miss like 6 picks and 17 trades. Like, that's what it feels like. So again, I went through who the Eagles came out with: Cole Payton, Micah Morris, Cole Wisniewski, UR Bernard, Keshawn James, Newbie. Anybody that stands out to you, Tyson? I always say, to me, day 3, these are just lotto tickets. Like, if somebody hits, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. I don't really expect any of these guys to make the roster. That's just my thought process every time with day
Cole
3.
Payton's making this roster, brother.
Is he the replacement for
Tanner?
Your boy?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see if that means Tanner McKee is getting dealt for 2027 capital come camp time. If another team is like, oh, okay, this quarterback situation isn't what we thought, let's throw some draft capital that way, which seems unlikely, but that's floated all the time. Cole Payton is awesome, dude. Like, this is a guy, 29 total touchdowns, 72% completion percentage. He throws like a weirdo, and he's left-handed. So I think that some people aren't going to love that. All this dude does is win. He's really good. There's been some really good North Dakota State quarterbacks, and he's better than most of them. And this is a guy who I think is going to stick. And also, by all accounts, is a really smart football player. He's got tons of speed. Like, those are things. He can throw the ball. This is a guy who's going to back up Jalen Hurts, hopefully, for 4 seasons.
That'd be interesting, man. If they got another guy that they like in there, and you're the FCS guy, so that's why I want to defer to you. I haven't seen this kid play maybe outside of like 2 games in his career. I'm always watching, and Tyson knows, like, I'm a complete freaking sicko when it comes to like FBS level football. He's an even bigger sicko with me because he's watching FCS stuff. And so dude, I may have my loves in the G5, and I'm watching just the horrendous games. Tyson's watching FCS ball.
Yeah, it's higher level. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the guys from NDSU are doing better than the guys from UTSA when it comes to the league. And then, you want to talk about you mentioned Bernard's body comp to start the show. The dude's a leaned out Brock Lesnar. Like, if it works, that'd be cool. Those videos they showed when he got drafted and his hips look like, just a guy who works an office job or something. It was like, oh, that's going to be a problem. But if this guy ever figures it out, he's probably years away from actually contributing. But if he ever figures it out, how fun would it be to have a supersized Myles Garrett?
I'm trying to find the stuff that was floating around on social media where it was like, oh, this is the biggest freak or whatever. Here we go. I think I found it. 6'4.5", 300 pounds with a 10. What does that say? A 10-10 broad.
10-10 broad.
10-10 broad and a 4.66 40, a 1.6 10-yard split and a 39-inch vertical jump. Bench press is 225 pounds 31 times. I mean, this dude is a physical freak. And so, like you said, you want to talk about a lottery ticket of all lottery tickets. Can this guy hit? You're happy with it. It's 2 years down the road. I mean, we have no clue if he can play football. That's the problem. I mean, just line him up on the edge, maybe go get the passer. Hey, just be physical on the interior. Like, how do you even start with this? We'll see. It's an intriguing one. It's going to get the headlines. We'll see if he sticks in camp. That's the thing. But I mean, this was a hot name when we were coming into draft season because it was like, who's going to take this athletic freak?
I don't know if everyone understands how unlikely the Jordan Mailata story is. So let's do it again. Like, let's just do
Right.
it twice. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Bernard said that Mulatto was one of his first phone calls that he made. Apparently, he's been a mentor to him throughout his time in the International Player Pathway Program. So that's something. Like he knows, he's got a guy in the building who's done this before. Did you want to talk at all about the Cole Wisniewski pick, or do you think he's going to make the team?
I don't know. I mean, so the safety was something that was circled, right? This was something we discussed. Like, do the Eagles target somebody in round 2 and fill their need at safety? Okay, well, they clearly are comfortable with what they've done this offseason. Let's see if they get a little bit more aggressive before summer camp, because they draft Cole Wisniewski, 6'3", 220. It looks good. Not the best prospect though, Tyson, if we're looking late in the round at where they are in the 7th round. So I mean, yes, they got a safety in the draft. I don't think he's going to be on this roster. If he is, it's the practice squad, in my opinion.
No, this is another guy, NDSU guy as well, moved up to Texas Tech, and then was fine. Like, he was fine at Texas Tech. He was part of an excellent defense, and that's something. But I don't expect him to be somebody who's making waves. He might become Cooper DeJean's new best friend. Maybe we're going to get Exciting Whites 2.0. That's on the table. The coolest thing about the Micah Morris pick to me was the fact that they got 2 more picks later in the draft, and it was going to be fun. But I'm with you where the story is Makai Lemon, it's Eli Stowers, and it's the Jonathan Greenard trade. I'm less than thrilled with the Markel Bell pick. I understand it, though, and I think that that's just the price of doing business. Like, if everybody's the same to us, let's pick the guy we think's the best.
So you don't think Micah Morris is going to be a Landon Dickerson replacement or anything like that?
Wouldn't that be nice? It's just that, like, do those guys come at 207?
No.
This is another dude who's like one of the most physically imposing players, like a relative athletic score of 9.96. He ran a crazy 40 for his size. Like, I think he was in the 90th percentile there at 5 seconds. His vertical was almost 30 inches. His broad jump, all of this stuff. And he didn't give up much pressures at Georgia, but I think he gave up 1 sack in his entire career at Georgia, which is awesome. But if you just cut the film on, it's like he's kind of late to the party everywhere that he's going, and that feels less than ideal. But we don't know the scheme, and so it's hard to be like, no, this guy can't play for Sean Mannion, because I've not watched Sean Mannion's offense on the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know.
This is the day 3 pick to me that I think has the best chance to make the roster, and is somebody that I was most intrigued by. Because, I mean, you just see a guard from Georgia and you're like, okay, that's intriguing. Getting him in the 6th round is interesting. And then you look at his athleticism score. It's like, how is this guy falling to the 6th round? I think that was more surprising to me, Tyson, because he performed so well at the combine athletically, because his RAS score was so high, because he played a blue blood like Georgia. It's like, what are we missing here? That's probably what, when all of those things, and the fact that he lands in the 6th round probably is telling you he's not going to be a starter or a high level starter for somebody like the Eagles, who has aspirations of winning the Super Bowl in the near future. So let's keep that in mind here. But if he hits, this is a guy who played high level college football, super athletic. Maybe he is somebody who can come in here and play. I'm not sure. So he's definitely somebody I have circled. I mean, outside of the top 2 guys, and then Markel Bell, we'll see. Micah Morris is the guy I'm definitely going to be paying attention to with stories coming out of camp. Like, how are these rookies? How are these draft class doing?
I think that Jordan Davis should start a service where guys just join him on his Peloton, and we get some of these rookies in here, because I think Micah Morris could benefit from dropping a couple pounds, lowering the pad level, all that stuff, But newbie, also a traitsy guy, and like, I don't think he's going to make the team. But that's the allocation of resources. You can talk about it how you want. Like, they don't walk out of here with a premier edge in the draft, but they got Jonathan Greenard, so you can't really complain about that. The wide receiver pick, I understand that everyone wants safety, but it's like, okay, but this need is here and now. This wide receiver need. You have Michael Carter, who you're trying to transition to safety, Jacorian Bennett, who you brought in a year ago, who's also apparently open to that or being cross-trained at that position right now. I trust Vic Fangio to know, who he has in the room and where he's comfortable. And on that offensive side, it's like the reset is coming. And so get out ahead of it, because we've seen it go the other way when you're trotting out 34, 35-year-old bodies and there's no juice. That's it.
I'm with you on the offensive side of stuff. I love the Lemon pick. We really dove into that. Again, go check out that video. It's on this channel. Stay subscribed, yada, yada. The rest of the draft, listen, we talked about this. And again, on the I Said What I Said channel that we do, we went through the first round. We gave our thoughts. Like, did this player go too high? Yada, yada. Like, kind of give our thoughts on that front. Well, the reason why we were even able to say that is because we think the talent is pretty flat across the board. So if that's the case, it's going to trickle down here. So nobody really stands out when we're talking about this overall draft for the Eagles. Besides Lemon, who I think is a day one starter, and you laid it out well, I think Eli Stowers could be a real weapon. And outside of that, you're just kind of taking some lottery picks on a roster that there's not a lot of holes you need to fill, right? And so you get Jonathan Greenard on draft day. Well, there's your edge rusher. So really, the three guys that you're looking at are going to play is Lemon, Stowers, Greenard. Can Bell be the replacement for Lane Johnson? Maybe, maybe not. If not, well, our round 3 pick didn't hit. How many times do round 3 picks not hit? And you can just kind of go through the rest of things, and that's the way it's approached. So I wasn't blown away by this draft. I don't think it's one that you're going to look back on and say, oh my God, the Eagles, their franchise was completely changed by what they did with the 2026 draft. But I think there's a potential, Tyson. We're going to look at these guys, Lemon, Stowers, Greenard, and say, oh, those guys that were taken in 2026, they were pieces of the puzzle from what was already in place to help the Eagles get back to the mountaintop.
Yeah, and we could just quickly run through the UDFA guys that the Eagles picked up. Idaho linebacker Isaiah King, Ole Miss safety Gushikin. They got a long snapper from Florida, Brad. So we might be doing a long snapper pod.
Oh, baby.
We love those. Dante Lawson, the linebacker from Alabama. Tucker Large, the safety from Washington State, who also has some FCS ties in him. He's a pretty good football player. Jalen Roberts from Alabama, the offensive guard. That's probably the biggest one. There was some reports that he had multiple suitors and chose Philadelphia. Daquan Wright, the tight end from Ole Miss, and then Joshua Waru from the International Pathway Program, who, again, tested off the charts, rugby background, but has never played football, and we don't know what he's going to look like once the pads go on. But, one of these UDFA guys is probably going to make the team. For Eagles fans, it's probably going to be the long snapper. That's probably how we're going to do this thing. But, yeah, I'm excited.
It's a good draft. Solid draft.
Man. No kickers brought in the UDFA cycle, which is frustrating.
Well, there's so many free agents. I mean, look, you can get a guy from the MLS apparently and give him the highest paid contract of all time. My guy, my favorite Cowboy ever.
I'd take a dude from the MLB at this point. I love you, Jake, but make kicks.
Tyson went from building a shrine in his backyard to Jake Elliott to saying he wants a baseball player to take kicks for him, and it's only because the Mets are so bad, folks. That's why.
That's true.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on here? I mean, we're going to have a lot of Eagles content that we're going to be going through. Again, we kind of said we're going to be following them through the summer. If anything pops up, of course, the AJ trade, we'll do a reaction to that. But anything else that you want to close out here before we move on and just kind of play a waiting game of watching and seeing with AJ?
No, I think this was great. It gives you a chance to complain if you wanted to complain. It gives you a chance to be like, this was a perfect draft if you want to do that. So it's the sweet spot for Howie Roseman.
With that, you guys know the drill by now. Like, subscribe, and share. Again, this is Philthy, a Philadelphia Eagles podcast. This is on the I Said What I Said channel if you're watching on YouTube. So subscribe to that channel. We're going to be doing this show on the channel the entire offseason, leading into the season, getting content for the season in the 2026. So if you like the NFL as well as just Eagle stuff, if you're just a football sicko like we are, we cover college football, we cover the NFL on I Said What I Said, so we got you covered when it comes to anything on the gridiron. So let us know what you thought of this draft in the comments. Smash the like button on the way out. Share it with another Eagles friend. Share it with your mom, your dad, an enemy who hates the Eagles. I got my Giants friends text me, oh my God, the Eagles did it again. I hate them so much. I'm like, I wasn't that blown away, but we love when the Eagles piss people off. So that's what we do here. With that being said, guys, appreciate the support. We'll talk to you guys when we talk to you. Until then, peace.